Hey everybody, I hope you can hear me. Hello everybody. Hey everyone. First of all, I owe you the deepest of apologies. I'm so sorry. It's taken me forever to post anything new, and it's not on purpose, I assure you. I've just been super, super busy with a lot of things. First and foremost, I want to say it's very cool that I got to record basically my own reading of the A Christmas Carol from Charles Dickens, and I absolutely love it. Very much enjoying it. I am almost done, almost completely done with the recording. I've got like a little bit more that I need to do, and then I've got editing and stuff like that. But it's coming along very, very well, and I'm so happy. Um, I love Christmas. I love the holidays. So I know it's probably easy to see Jack Skellington back there, yes. And then you can't see it now, but I've got my plague mask up there too. There we go. We get it right. It's weird because I'm all opposite in the screen. So that's what's been occupying my time. I've been so busy. Plus, I've been editing. I got edits back from my editor. Some of them are, well, I mean, all of them are very, very good edits. Kat McIntyre does an amazing job. If you've never read her Airship series, you are missing out. Steampunk fun, pirates in the sky. It's just a great, great thing. So anyway, I have a surprise for you guys because you have not heard from me in a while. I'm going to read something for you. I got to put my here. Let me actually make my screen a little bit bigger so I can see what I'm doing. And then I'm going to read something for you guys. Something for it's a little bit of fun. So this is the prologue to the book I'm working on right now, the thing I'm editing. Uh, Tentatively called the app. Of course, once if I fish it around if I shop it around to different agents and they decide they like it, they may change the name. We'll see what happens. There's all kinds of things that take place when you enter those murky waters of traditional publishing. But we'll see what happens. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to read you the prologue to my book, The App. The prologue is entitled That Which Makes Us. The darkness of central Virginia pierces through the soul of those who stand against it. Night has a way of breathing, moving, and watching in an age-old tale of predator and prey. Emissaries of the dark crawl through the night in search of blood. Truth is seldom far from fiction, and if anyone cared to peel back hundreds of years of unsolved disappearances, that truth may be stubbornly brought into the light where it would be exposed, if not any less dangerous. Sometimes understanding reality sets you free. Other times, the knowledge you seek chains you to the wall where even your screams find no purchase. Deep in the Virginian forest, Cece sat on a tree stump next to her grandmother who stood close by. Cece would do anything for the old woman, even plunge into the depths of the darkened forest to fight off the night itself. I'm getting tired and a little hungry, the girl admitted, the accumulation of a long but rewarding day spent in the fresh air of the Virginian countryside. I understand, Cecilia, sweetie, but let's run through this one more time. The old woman let out a deep sigh. Remember that I'm tired too, young one. Maybe more than you can possibly know. Once more through, and we can go inside and see about finding them cookies I hide from your ma and pa. Mostly your pa. He'd eat them all if I let him. The young girl giggled at the old woman. She was Cece's favorite member of the Nidwaki family, and the woman she most idolized. Her grandmother was known by the matriarchal call sign Kakarsa from her native tongue Hausa, a language common in Nigeria, where her great-grandparents grew up. The word translated to grandmother. Now, Cece, my love, I want you to reach out with your heart and mind. Tell me what you sense. Don't use your eyes to see, but your soul. The darkness hides from our vision, but it is revealed to other senses. Can you see the woods in your mind, Cece? The trees, the leaves, organic things, and that old Studebaker out back rusting away as the ground reclaims it. Stretch out and let it all in. Cece, a tiny but sturdy child, lapsed into a deep meditative state as Kakarsa had taught her. The long day's exhaustion was quickly replaced as she borrowed from the life forces around her. Biomass exuded its own power, which fed Cece. The plants, the water in the stream, the deer bedding down for the night, a raccoon investigating her grandmother's garbage can, and a mourning dove asleep on the roof all gave their own essence that Cece could tap into. The energy was invigorating and instructive at the same time. The little girl dismissed the impulses of the noisy forest as she searched for the tug in her stomach she sought. Her grandmother always said something special about Cece helped her feel the targets. They produced a strange pull inside of the small girl, like a line connecting her and what she sought. Yes, Kakarsa, I'm ready. Cece ran from the log with a lithe quickness and panther-like quiet, which was the envy of the kids in her gym class. She reached into her small satchel and extracted a 6-inch piece of dowel, sharpened at the end. Through the inky curtain of blackness, she only sensed what was around her, rather than struggling to see objects. The blue-green images came to her mind, providing a wealth of information. She flipped the piece of wood around in her hand, testing its balance. Repeated exercises with her grandmother had honed her skill at throwing the stakes at various targets with the pinpoint accuracy of a professional knife thrower. Her grandmother suggested, on more than one occasion, that the child had become far more accurate with the tools than she'd ever been. Cece thought this fact alone pleased her grandmother more than anything else. The mental image acted like radar, illuminating the targets in front of her. The connection formed a compass arrow to follow to her objective. She could easily sense other things, too. Cece never let on that she also perceived the ropes her grandmother tied to the traps to activate them when Cece got close enough. The little girl had grown so adept at the game that even her grandmother's tug of the rope wasn't a surprise. Many times she released her throw before her grandmother had time to completely spring the target. The first objective rushed from its hiding spot, flying out from around a large oak. Cece was on it before her mark had even stopped moving on its hinges. The dark made it impossible to see the targets, but in her mind's eye nothing could have been clearer. Kakarsa increased the level of difficulty to force the young girl to think before the moment of attack. These differences challenged Cece to plan each engagement, not giving the attacker the advantage of choosing when to initiate the fight. Her grandmother once let it slip that the day would come when Kakarsa may not be around to give her the advice she needed. The thought of not having a grandmother sometimes gripped her with deep sadness. Another object sprang from the ground a few feet in front of her. Instead of throwing the stake, she slid like a baseball player and drove the sharpened piece of hard wood into the target. Cece thought it was funny how her grandmother tried to fake her out as much as possible, but Cece always won the game, no matter how complicated. Cece swung around the trunk of a thick ash and rolled into a modified kneeling position. She struck another target from behind, shoving the wooden stake through the plywood figure. Her heart pounded in her chest. She loved the thrill of the hunt. It was the best kind of medicine for the restricted city life her parents insisted they live, an excitement her friends and schoolmates found strange. Her search from the her Cece searched the darkness. There were 3 more targets cloaked in impenetrable nightshade. Kakarsa normally only put out 3 to 5. The 6th target was different somehow. This one moved from tree to tree rapidly. Its essence was unusual too. Unlike any exercise she had completed to date, this target gave her pause. Fear ran up her spine before she could brush it away. Cece considered the terrain, trees, bushes, mounds of earth, and headstones in the small mountainside graveyard to figure out the best approach for the remaining targets. Kakarsa rigged up 2 targets to initiate at once, forcing her to decide which one presented the bigger threat. All along the route, the child could feel the watchful eye of the old Nigerian woman in the shadows. Cece had accused her grandmother of being a ninja in the past since she moved without sound through the forest trees. a skill Cece had almost mastered herself. Cece leapt toward the target before it had a chance to spring and stabbed it. She rolled into a kneeling position and launched a devastating attack on the other target just as it sprang from the ground. The little girl somersaulted off the target and jumped back to her feet. The sixth target approached from the shadows. The tug drawing her to it went taut like a knot, pulled progressively tighter. This target was not of wood, cloth, and the special oil her grandmother put on them, but more solid. If she didn't know any better, this one was human, yet inhuman at the same time. A sensation grew much stronger than anything else her grandmother had thrown in front of her, like a needle inside of her, pointing laser-like no matter which way she turned. Even if she could change direction, she knew she couldn't possibly walk away. Night was all-consuming, and the trail in front of Cece was even more so. Whatever lay on the trail ahead formed an impenetrable darkness. Intuition told Cece the target stepped right in front of her, even if she couldn't see it with her eyes. A cold wind blew down from the trail, forcing a shiver from Cece as a being coalesced out of the abyss. The thing's shimmering blue eyes The thing's simmering blue eyes shimmered in the darkness. Taller than a normal man, it would have easily towered over her father. Whatever this creature was had gray skin and matted down black hair on its head. A long cape billowed out around it and then disappeared, as if made of a blackened fog rolling up from the ground. Cece had once watched an animal die. This creature reminded her of the moment the animal succumbed to death, except hundreds of times more intense. She physically pushed back against the creature, and when their two essences met, she felt the pain, torture, hatred, and death which made up its existence. This creature, which was once human, did not receive these things, but dealt them. It thirsted for blood, and it wasn't too picky where that blood came from. This was horror incarnate. Cece broke their psychic connection, and acting on instinct, she launched a wooden stake as hard as her arm would throw. However, she lacked the strength necessary to do any real damage, and the wooden stake bounced off the creature to fall to the forest floor. It looked at Cece and smiled, a cold grin which told her she was suddenly in mortal danger. She wanted to flee. However, her feet refused to move. Whatever this thing was had a hold on her in a way nothing else could. Her body shut down and became a block of ice, and equally as heavy. Whatever this thing whatever this was, would be on her in moments if she didn't break its spell. Her grandmother swept Cece up with one arm and pulled her in close. With the other arm, Kakarsa released a wooden stake with such ferocity it stunned the young girl. The target let out a screech and then vanished into a cloud of dust which settled to the forest floor. It didn't seem real. She thought there was a living, breathing human being standing in front of her for a moment, while her instincts told her whatever it was couldn't be a real person. She couldn't shake the image of the thing dissolving into a cloud of dust. Then there was the issue with Kakarsa. Had Cece really just watched her own grandmother kill? Was the woman she most idolized capable of committing murder? A mixture of confusion and fear gripped her. The old woman took a knee. She was staring directly into Cece's eyes. "Child, my dear one, get yourself to the house. Lock the doors and don't let anyone in except me. You keep those stakes close. I'll be around presently." Cece began to argue, but the protestations would have fallen upon deaf ears. Kakarsa had already vanished into the dark of the woods as silently as she had materialized behind Cece. There was fear in the old woman's eyes, fear like Cece had never seen before. She turned and ran. Paths in the forest crisscrossed in front of her, but she knew them by heart. The air flowing into and out of her lungs burned in a pulse that kept time with the steady pounding of her heart. The dim lights of the kitchen windows soon poked out from the leaves to show Cece the final few steps toward the cabin. She plunged through the door, opening it and sweeping it closed again with one quick motion. Repeating the action with the door of her bedroom, Cece locked it behind her. Kakarsa's home had always been a place of comfort and safety, but now, unexplainably, she knew they all faced a danger beyond anything she could comprehend. 3 hours later, Cece sat in her designated bedroom and strained to hear what the adults were talking about in the other room, while she rearranged her homemade dolls into different positions, faking a tea party to pass the time. Her father always exhibited some of Kakarsa's more impressive strength. However, he seldom exercised those gifts. That night, he and Kakarsa put up a revolving field around Cece's room to protect the young girl from hearing what was being said. Cece explored their psychic energy for some sort of crack. The energy gave in places like a thick balloon which could be pushed in but refused to burst. No sooner had Cece stretched out her feelings to listen for her father and Kakarsa did she get shoved back out. The psychic wall proved difficult but not impenetrable. Snippets of conversations made it through, most of them centering around looking for answers and trying to find another way. Along with bits of discussion, Cece recognized a gripping fear. Something had scared the adults in her life, and Kakarsa was not afraid of anything. Cece awoke to the sound of scraping across the cabin's hardwood flooring. She looked out of the bedroom window and saw her father loading a large trunk into the back of their pickup truck. In the house, with the psychic walls now dissipated, Cece felt out for her grandmother's essence. Her soul told of a woman who knew what had to be done and was willing to do it, even if there was a sense of deep sadness in her heart. Cece dozed off again for a few hours, only to be woken by Kakarsa. Cece, my love, you have to go home with your father. I'm sorry. I need you to help your daddy. Do you understand me? Kakarsa, I want to stay with you. Cece read the fear and regret in her grandmother's eyes. She would remember this moment for the rest of her life. I know, love, and there's no place I would rather you be. Something has come up, and I'm afraid it may not be safe for you here in the woods. You go home, okay? The small child grabbed up 3 of her dolls. But then it isn't safe for you. Oh, sweetie, come on now. Let me try that again. Oh, sweetie, come now. Kakarsa may be old, but she sure enough can take care of herself. There ain't nothing in these woods stronger or smarter than me. I can promise you that. A small tear rolled down her grandmother's cheek. Cece, remember that no matter what happens in life, I will always be watching you. Call on me whenever you need me, and I'll drop whatever I'm doing to be there. You are my little warrior, and I'm so proud of you. The pained expression on Kakarsa's face impressed upon Cece the gravity of the situation she didn't fully understand. I'm scared. Child, it's all right. Fear makes you watchful, and watchfulness makes you prepare for what will come. That's your body's way of keeping you safe. Everything will be okay, I can promise you that. Now, go on and get yourself ready. I'll be in the kitchen with your daddy. With tears in her eyes, Cece packed her few things into her overnight bag that read, "Going to Grandma's house," and walked out into the kitchen. Kakarsa busied herself by filling a bucket of garlic and cutting additional steaks, longer and sharper than the ones Cece practiced with. Cece knew something was wrong, and yet strengthened her resolve to be brave in the face of this unseen danger. Whatever that thing outside had been, she was far too small to contribute to the solution. Her father and grandmother exchanged a longer hug than normal. Cece and her father climbed into the truck, and they drove back to the city. It was the last time she would lay eyes on her grandmother. So that is the first chapter. Well, that's the prologue of the app, and it's kind of cool. I'm loving the way it's coming along. It's a big project. It's actually a very, very long book. It's the longest I've ever written, actually, and I'm just very much enjoying the way it's coming along. It's so exciting. Can't wait for you all to read it. But now you've gotten that first little bit snippet. I hope it whetted your appetite for the future of the book when I get it done. Working on it as hard as I can. So what else is new? Well, not much. It's just been an interesting year. Busy, busy, busy. Always doing stuff. So thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this little snippet for you to kind of wet your whistle about the app. So, all right, I will talk to you all later. Have a, if I don't see you, have a happy holidays, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.